What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Call-In Show. I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for being here at youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, you can find all of my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers started OTAs yesterday. Plenty to talk about. Mason Rudolph, Roman Wilson leading the show. No TJ Watt, no DK Metcalf, no Aaron Rodgers. So much to dive into. Excited to hear your guys' questions before we get going. Thank you to all of our members. And if you want to become a member, you can do so by clicking the link in the description below. Shout out to the AST Nation. Shout out to all you guys. And with that said, I won't waste any more time. Let's get it going.
Hey, Noah. Great show as always. I have a question. If Tomlin and the Steelers ever part ways, do you ever see it a possibility that Cowher comes back to coach? I know when he retired, it wasn't the intention that he was going to retire forever.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's possible that he might come back to coach the Steelers? And if so, would that be a good idea?
I love it. I love it so much. Bill Cowher, the Iron Chin. Oh, man, dude. That would be crazy. Do I think it happened? No. I think Cowher, at this point, is pretty content with life, you know, enjoying it in the booth and having a good time. Probably more nearing retirement from all of that stuff and just being completely retired than he is coming back to the NFL. Now, would it be incredible? Yeah, it'd be awesome. I mean, who wouldn't want Bill Cowher out there leading the team with probably a new quarterback, definitely a ground game, with a guy like Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson, a developing offensive line, and guys like TJ Watt. Yeah, it would be pretty fantastic. Would it happen? I think no. It's hard to even say like who the Steelers would replace Mike Tomlin with. Ben Johnson was my pick this past offseason. I don't know who's coming in the next cycle and who's going to be the big names. Obviously, Arthur Smith has an opportunity to be, but nobody wants to replace their head coach with their offensive coordinator who's been here for 2 years. I feel like that's a dangerous line to walk, especially if the Steelers are not good enough to where it's time to move on from Tomlin, but are good enough that Arthur Smith's the replacement. It gets a little sketchy. So I don't know who would be the names right now. Cowher, I don't think would be one of them. Would be awesome. Would be so awesome to see him on the sideline. Oh my God. Especially if he'd have to bring back the old school vintage jackets. You know what I mean? He would have to look the sweaters, dude. If he pulled up week 1 in a turtleneck, it's over. It's over. Steelers are winning the Super Bowl. Like, there's no questions about it. It would be awesome. Could it happen? I would say the likelihood of it is very small. But it would be the coolest thing ever. We all know that.
What is up, Noah Stragbine? All Steelers Talk.
Good?
This is Sam, a.k.a. Bird Fan.
Yes, sir.
I hope all is well today. I'm going to try to keep this brief. I would submit to you that the Steelers have been in a rebuild for the last 3 years.
Yes.
And I think that it's pretty amazing that they've actually been able to win, 10 games a year during a rebuild process with really no good, solid quarterback. I think that's a testament to, the organization and
Yes.
perhaps to Coach T. I realize that there's warts, there's things that I'm not looking past, I'm not overlooking. I realize that there's some problems, and Coach T definitely needs to let his coordinators coordinate. And he's definitely a stubborn, opinionated man, but I guess that's his right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to bring that up because I think that gets lost in our recent mediocrity. I think that, like you said today, outside of quarterback and maybe another wide receiver, we're looking pretty solid. And if we do get, Aaron, or if Will or Mason, have some kind of great year, then I think we're going to surprise a lot of folks. So anyway, for what it's worth, having said that, I am out of here. Take care.
Look, I agree, and I mean, I've preached this, so I agree that the Steelers have definitely succeeded beyond their talent in recent years, like by far. Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett combined to be their starting quarterbacks, and then the year after, it was Kenny Pickett with just a dash of really bad Mitch Trubisky, and then a suddenly pretty decent Mason Rudolph. Their quarterback situation alone was troublesome. Before that, they had a 37-year-old quarterback who was no longer mobile, and I get it, future Hall of Famer, but had the worst offensive line and the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. That's how bad their offense was. They had no running game for a little while before that, and their wide receivers have just been a constant rotation of maybe they're good, but they're also super filled with drama. They literally started a playoff game with Miles Jack, who has yet to play a football game since and didn't play one beforehand. That's where they were. They've easily exceeded their talent level in recent years. That being said, they are through it. They're at the point right now where if this year's NFL draft, if the 2025 NFL draft had a better quarterback class, the Steelers would have got a quarterback. There would be no Aaron Rodgers nonsense. It would be Mason Rudolph with the leg up, but chances are the rookie's going to start week 1, and the Steelers are hoping that that's their next franchise quarterback and the final piece to the puzzle in their rebuild, in their Pittsburgh Steelers style rebuild. Instead, it was a bad quarterback class, and here we are. Excuse me. Which leaves them in a strange spot because you have to put the pressure on guys like Mike Tomlin to win playoff games, to not just be a 10-win team, to adjust his coaching style. But at the same time, you don't have the quarterback, which is the biggest piece to the puzzle on your roster. And in every other organization be the same way, where it's an excuse every time to say, well, you have to give him an opportunity with the quarterback that you're going to draft. I hear that, which is a strange spot to be. It's stranger when you're not talking about the internal pressure, but the outside pressure, the fans, the media, everybody else who is hating on Mike Tomlin, who is screaming for his head, which is warranted because right now it's not internal, but how internal will change depending on how loud the outside gets. And it's a weird spot to be in, I do think it speaks to the organization. I think it speaks to Mike Tomlin and how good he is, but I also think that he's swung and missed a couple of times at the quarterback position and at other positions as well, and is not the greatest at delegating. And in the NFL, you got to delegate. So I hear that it's a strange spot to be in. I agree with you 100%. And I don't think the real pressure starts until the next rookie quarterback's here. And if he's good, Tomlin's never going anywhere. If he's not, there's a real conversation to be had about what comes next.
Hey, Noah, Chad, California. I know you're
Yes, sir.
busy. Got a few quick questions.
Hit me with them. I got all day.
Yesterday's show. My first question is, although you were impressed by Roman Wilson and it's year 2, do you still consider him a year 1 receiver because of the lack of playing time last year? Second question. I know people were injured last year, especially like Roman Wilson in training camp. Do you expect the Steelers to dial back the physicality of the training camp as far as fatigue and other injuries are concerned? Third question is, why is Cordarrelle Patterson still there? Not familiar with his contract. Is it cheaper to keep him, or is he around because he's Arthur Smith's guy? Yeah. And finally, I have a off-Steeler talk idea for a T-shirt. Let's keep it trucking. Maybe put Caleb Johnson on there or something. I know what you think. Thanks, man. Bye.
First off, T-shirt idea, fantastic. Excuse me, I got something in my throat this morning. It's the fact that it hasn't stopped raining in Pittsburgh in a week. The t-shirt idea, incredible. As soon as I could figure out how to make it look good, I'll hit you up, and I'm gonna need that address and that t-shirt size. That's fantastic. Keep it trucking. Let's keep it trucking. All right. Let's start from the top. We'll go in order. Roman Wilson, training camp, and the third one. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. Roman Wilson. I mean, Roman Wilson looked really good. I do consider him a year one wide receiver. The only difference is that he was actually on the practice field for a little while. So he's a year one wide receiver with a leg up. You know, he was healthy going into the offseason. That was the difference between him and Calvin Austin, because that's the most recent comparison that you could have. Is Calvin hurt his foot, was not able to practice all season long, essentially was just in meetings, and then went into the offseason, had to finish up the last stages of his rehab before he was able to be back on the field fully. And that gave him, you know, a kind of a setback even going into that first offseason of his NFL career. Roman Wilson was healthy going into the offseason, which helps. He was also healthy enough during points of the season to be on the practice field and to get a feel of what these practices are like and to understand and slightly adjust to the speed and the difference of the NFL. I think that helps a ton. Like when it's going into year two, I think knowledge-wise and game-wise, obviously game rep-wise, Roman Wilson's a first-year guy. He's got no experience. If you even look at him as a third-round pick, it's not a pedigree that brings that, well, he could just adjust effortlessly. You know, no, he's a third-round pick. There's going to be some adjustment period. It might not be drastic, but there's some adjustment period. But I do look at him as a first-round guy with a leg up, with a, you know, he's a first year on the field Sundays guy. Second year, went through OTAs, had some practice experience, got to have a full NFL offseason, which is the most significant part of this. Is that first offseason in the NFL is really when guys figure out how to do this. It's during the season they adjust and they learn, certainly, but that first offseason is when you really hunker down. You have a brand new set of tools, some crazy experienced set of tools around you, some mentors and some useful information that just sets you apart from anything you've done so far in your career. It's that first offseason. I think that gives him a pretty big leg up as a first year guy who's technically in his second year. When it comes to training camp, I mean, I don't think so. I'd like to say yes. It's going to be yes to certain players. TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Darius Slay, probably guys like Jaylen Warren will be on there taking the Najee Harris route of got to keep him healthy for the season. You're going to get those guys. DK Metcalf will be another one. You're going to get those guys. But your Isaac Seumalo, but you're not going to get it overall. The Steelers are a physical football team. They pride themselves on that. And at the end of the day, the Pittsburgh Steelers, just like I just answered in the last question, have brought worse talent than their record says to the playoffs. And they're going to continue to look at that and say, what we're doing is working. We need the talent to get us over the hump. And I mean, I don't disagree with that philosophy. So I would imagine it's not as physical for certain guys, but the overall physicality of it, yes. That being said, last year was less physical than the year before, and I think that maybe the Steelers are just getting to a place where a lot of their like bigger name veterans are getting up there in age, and they have to kind of ease them back, and therefore they just pull the physicality back as a whole. We got to replay it. I don't know why I'm blanking on this third question here.
Hey, Noah, Chad, California. I know you're busy. Got a few quick questions
Me again.
regarding yesterday's show.
Yes, sir.
My first question is, although you were impressed by Roman Wilson and it's year two, do you still consider him a year one receiver because of the lack of playing time last year? Second question, I know people were injured last year, especially like Roman Wilson in training camp. Do you expect the Steelers to dial back the physicality of the training camp as far as fatigue and other injuries are concerned?
Before we keep that going, I do want to say that Roman Wilson's was a non-pads injury. So it was just kind of like a weird fall, which I do think changes, but I still think my answer stays the same.
Third question is, why is Cordarrelle Patterson still there?
There it is. There it is. I don't know. I think it's just because as everybody else, and probably as you continue to say in this question, we just don't understand it, and it just blanks out of my head, floats away. I also was so fired up with the let's keep it trucking shirt. So shout out to that one. I don't have an answer for you. I wish I did. I really wish I knew, but they're probably a June 1st release. He's probably a June 1st release candidate. That being said, he's not at OTAs, and it's just strange that they haven't done it yet as a post. They could do it as a post June 1st release. Like that's allowed to happen. I don't know what the situation is. I do know that it makes zero sense. I do know that Kenneth Gainwell just almost eliminates any need for Cordarrelle Patterson. I do know that there's almost no reason to keep 4 running backs, with one of them being your backup kick returner and 4th string running back / 7th string wide receiver. Like none of it adds up to me. None of it makes sense. I'm as lost as everybody else. I will say that I have a hard time believing Cordarrelle Patterson's going to be on the roster come week 1. I could be totally wrong there. He could come out here and look fantastic and was dealing with something last year and we just didn't know. But if it's the same as last year, I just have such a hard time thinking that that's going to happen. I don't have an answer. Contractually, I believe maybe it does save a little bit of money as a June 1st release, but you could have already done that and had it set as a June 1st release. I just don't know. I don't know why I don't know. It's wild. It is wild to think that the Steelers running back room looks pretty good. And it is Jaylen Warren, Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, who looks speedy and quick yesterday. And then you got a guy like Trey Sermon that maybe doesn't make the roster, but maybe you're excited in him. You have the rookie out of Notre Dame, who I'm not going to remember his name, who they have playing running back, fullback, and everywhere else. You want to keep Connor Hayward, but that makes sense if you're going to keep Connor Hayward over Cordarrelle Patterson, because he's a special teamer and he's got a great set of hands and he can play fullback and tight end. But then you also want to give DJ Thomas Jones a shot. So maybe keep both of them. There's just too many other options for it to make sense at all. I have no idea. I wish I did. And I wish that you could ask those questions without you being the guy that is like, you can't look at it and say, like, in the right circumstance, you can, but you can't after an OTAs practice go to Mike Tomlin and say, Mike, Cordarrelle Patterson's not here yet. Why is he on the roster? You know what I mean? Like, you can't, it's just not, you got to wait for the right moment. And right now, I just don't think we'll know. I don't know when we will.
It's Marlon again.
It's
question
Marlon
this
again.
week is pretty easy to answer. Are the improvements to the Steelers offense through the draft as big as what people are expecting them to be? Or do you think that the fan base is just chomping at the bit to get anything?
Look it. I hate to be the guy, but that's what it is. It's people are excited. This is a rookie quarterback. This is a new guy. This is a new guy. Caleb Johnson's what is built to be excited for. That dude's a stud. He comes from a loaded draft class. It's like Y.E. Black. Like, people could get excited about Y.E. Black because you look at him and go, that's a dude who, this was a loaded draft class in defensive tackle. And he went in the 5th round, but maybe he's a 3rd round talent. Like, that's exciting. That's an exciting place to be. When it comes to the offensive side of things, I mean, Will Howard right now is a guy that has to fight to make the roster, to be realistic. Like, that's where he's at in his journey. Caleb Johnson's a guy that's going to be a starting running back next to Jaylen Warren, and that's super exciting. And that guy is worth all the excitement. Besides that, though, there's nothing that stands out. Like, Rock Taylor is a dude who, exciting because they didn't draft a wide receiver, but chances are he's not going to make the roster. Chances are DJ Thomas Jones doesn't make the roster. Like, that's where the Steelers are at. What should bring excitement is Roman Wilson progress, Calvin Austin progress, Darnell Washington progress, Kenneth Gainwell getting added, and obviously Mason Rudolph and potentially Aaron Rodgers and what they could bring separately. That's on the offensive side of the ball. But if we're going to be really honest, the excitement around the Pittsburgh Steelers this year should be how good their defense could be now that they've cleared up some spots that have been a looming issue. Not, oh, this is new, but they had guys. No, Derek Harmon is a significant upgrade over Larry Ogunjobi. Significant. Your outside linebacker room is stacked. Getting Cole Holcomb back is playing with house money that might work out so well in your favor. Juan Thornhill is a Super Bowl safety. He knows how to do these things. Darius Slay is still a stud. Like you've done the things. The defense looks like it finally on paper looks good. Last year on paper, it looked like, okay, yeah, there's, it looks good, but maybe there's some holes. It's hard to identify the holes. It's hard to identify the holes. On offense, not as much to be excited about. I'm not excited about Will Howard yet. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited about Will Howard and what he can be just as a floor. I think his floor is Mason Rudolph. I don't know what his ceiling is, but I don't know if it's any higher than Mason Rudolph. And because of that, that excites me to a degree. Caleb Johnson could be a stud, and that brings a ton of excitement.
Howdy, Noah. How's it going?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say one thing. RELAX, baby. Here we go. Here we go. We got a great team. You touched on it a little bit at the end of yesterday's show. On paper, dynamite. Defense, dynamite.
Yep.
Right? Just don't fade at the end of the season. Offense, if the offensive line could take a step forward, play solid, open holes for Warren and Caleb,
yes,
awesome. Then we're going to have Aaron Rodgers back there just diming up DK and 2 8'10" tight ends.
Dude, they really are.
Beautiful.
They're massive.
So excited. So excited for the season, for the team.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Here we go. Right? Let's go. So everybody just take a breath, calm down. We'll get through this. We've got a good team.
Yeah.
We're playing a tough division in the NFC North this year. Let's just handle it, show what we're made of, be the Pittsburgh Steelers fired up. Another shout out to Omar Khan, who bringing back Mason. What a smart move. What an absolutely smart move. Guy looks older, wiser. He's not rocking the 8-year-old haircut anymore. Looks great. Going to play smart football. Going to be a good backup. Love it. Love it. Love it. And shout out to your brother. Congratulations. You all be smart. Have fun this weekend. Make smart decisions.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Have a good one, Noah. See ya.
My man. First off, thank you. Can't promise smart decisions will be made, but we'll deal with them on Monday. We'll be here. We'll be here. As for that's a good update that I'll drop right here, and then I'll drop it in the flagship show as well. So today we will go later on the flagship show than usual. Have a doctor's appointment right at the 2:30 mark. We'll probably get home just about 4 o'clock, 4:30 ish. It is like an hour away. Got to come back. Whenever I'm here, we'll jump on the flagship show. We'll dive into some Pittsburgh Steelers and OTA Day 2 recap. Tomorrow will most likely be a training camp update or an OTA update, but a shorter situation and pre-recorded. Friday, there will be no show, unfortunately, unless I wake up just super jazzed up to get out, which there's a possibility. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're drinking beer all night, you wake up the next morning and you're just fired up to do something. And if I'm fired up to do something, chances are it's talk Pittsburgh Steelers with you guys. So there's a possibility. Let's talk the rest of it. Mason Rudolph, man. The only thing I got to say about Mason Rudolph is that I don't know what I hate more is the goatee or the mustache. And at the same time, I don't know what I respect more, a man who could rock a goatee or a man who could rock a mustache, play quarterback in the NFL and just look smooth about it. Because if you have it, you probably don't look smooth. Shout out to Mason Rudolph. I think it was a good move to bring him back. I really do. I do think he's smarter, and he just looks so comfortable out there. He looks like a guy who's been through this. You know what I mean? Who it's not rattled. He's not looking at this as like, oh, this is finally my moment. I've got to show out. No, he's looking at it like, dude, I could care less what happens, dude. If you put me out there, I guarantee I'm gonna win some games. That's how he's looking. And if you don't, well, it's your decision to make. You know, it's your decision to make. And that's what I love about Mason Rudolph. Again, on paper, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good football team outside of wide receiver and quarterback. And wide receiver can be fixed the second Roman Wilson has a day, the second Calvin Austin has a day, the second that Pat Freiermuth has a day. And the Steelers are going, oh, okay, never mind. We're good. We have them. You know, the day that Kenneth Gainwell has a day in the receiving game. Like that, when that starts to happen, the Steelers are okay at wide receiver. Quarterback, we'll see what happens. But I loved what I saw yesterday in terms of the offense and making it quarterback friendly in a different way. You know, it's not a quarterback friendly throw it up to George Pickens or DK Metcalf every single play and hope for the best. You know, it's quarterback friendly as an easy reads, quick out. Like it's what the Steelers are looking to have. It's what they've been looking to do. So I'm excited. I agree with you. I will try to make decent decisions this week. And I will say this, my brother, like, you know, when it was my bachelor party a year ago, on the agenda was golf and beer. My brother's is like Dungeons and Dragons. At some point we're you know, karaokeing and probably going to play some Magic cards. So different vibe, still a bachelor party, different vibe. But I'm excited. We'll be back on Monday. Don't even worry about it. We'll be all right. Thank you.
Hey, Noah, it's Maddie. I
Yes,
got a couple questions, actually. So the
Hit me.
first one is, where's Jacob? I'm pretty sure I probably missed that whole part of you talking about where he is, but just making sure he's still on the podcast because,
He is.
you know, he
He
just
is.
started and making sure we didn't scare him off yet. My second question is, would you feel comfortable if Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson both progressed, like, within the next few months? Would you feel comfortable going into the season with DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and Robert Woods as our wide receiver core?
Okay.
The way people are talking about Roman Wilson progressing, do you think that's enough confidence and, you know, structure that he could be fine without us having to trade for another wide receiver? It would help us because we wouldn't have to trade. You know, Roman Wilson's good, and we would keep our draft tackle. My third
True.
question. When do you fully expect Aaron Rodgers to sign if he is signing?
Great question.
Do you have him signing June or right before training camp? Because, I mean,
love it.
either way, it's a toss-up there. And then my last question is, should I get a DK Metcalf jersey or a Caleb Johnson jersey? Those are the two I keep deciding between.
Yes.
It's a 50-50 toss-up. Every time I get a jersey, someone leaves, so I'm scared to get another jersey.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And my last question to you is, name a hot take. I did this one before, but now that OTAs are happening around the league and everything, name any hot take. It could be for the Steelers or in the NFL that you think. Like for me, I think the Chiefs aren't going to win the AFC West this year with how loaded the Chargers and the Broncos are. I just see it coming down to the wire this year. And my other hot take is I don't see the Commanders being as good as they were last year.
I agree with that one.
Just because they had a sensational year last year with rookie Jaden Daniels, I don't know if they could reproduce that 2 years in a row. But yeah, look forward to hearing from you.
Shout out to Maddie. These are some good questions. We'll go back through them because, as we know, I got 5. I know we got 5. We're going to come up with them. Starting it off with Jacob. Shout out to our boy Jacob. Now, he's on vacation right now. He's exploring the world and doing some good things. He'll be back not this upcoming week, the week after, which works out fine because the Steelers will go into mini camp. Me and him will be back, and we'll get kicking from there. Next week is my brother's wedding, so it'll be a lot of chaos again, and I appreciate you guys trucking through this with us. But after that, it'll be smooth sailing. We'll be we'll be in some good spots. Jacob's still here. We're still good on Jacob. Roman Wilson. Great question. I think I am waiting on the Roman Wilson situation. I think price tags for players change. I believe that more guys become available. You know, names like Noah Brown and John Mechie started popping off right around training camp last year. I expect the same thing to happen this year with different names. And if that's the case, like that's the time that you go wide receiver hunting. And I think it makes sense. So you get opportunity to see Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson and where they're at. And then come training camp, you still get the beginning of them. And then you start looking. Then you start making phone calls and saying who's available and seeing what your real options are, you know, for realistic price tags. You could overshoot right now, but I look at it and just say, you're overcompensating for trading George Pickens. You know, Chris Olave would be awesome for a second round pick, makes a ton of sense. But if it's second and change, wait and see what your options are, because chances are Chris isn't going anywhere before training camp. Teams aren't that urgent. There's not that big of a pull right now heading into June. So I would give them time. And if they look good, I think I next move on to Robert Woods. Is Robert Woods good? Is Robert Woods good enough to be a 4? You're like a good, reliable, true 4. If that's the case, you got 4 and you're feeling okay about him. And then you got to hope that you can find a 5th in there. But I also think that you test out Pat Freiermuth and Donald Parham and Connor Hayward and all these other guys and see what you have in Kenneth Gainwell before you say, okay, we need to make a move for a 5th wide receiver, So I would test them out. I wouldn't be in a rush to trade for anybody. And then I'd see what I had in Robert Woods. And from there, I would make a decision on what you need to add, if you need to add anything to your wide receiver room. Question 3 is a tough one. We're going back.
Hey, no, it's Maddie. I got a couple questions, actually. So
and I'm excited for him
again.
Is,
where's Jacob? I'm pretty sure I probably missed that whole part of you talking about where he is, but just making sure he's still on the podcast because, he just started and making sure we didn't scare him off yet.
Nobody scared him. Although
would you feel comfortable if Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson both progress like within the next few months? Would you feel comfortable going into the season with DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and Robert Woods as our wide receiver core?
Yep.
The way people are talking about Roman Wilson progressing, do you think that's enough confidence and structure that he could be fine without us having to trade for another wide receiver? It would help us because we wouldn't have to trade. Roman Wilson's good, and we would keep our draft tackle.
Yep.
Third question. When do you fully expect Rodgers to sign?
Aaron Rodgers.
If he is signed?
Aaron
do you
Rodgers.
have him signing June or right before training camp? Because
all right, let's dive into it. Aaron Rodgers here. I hesitate so much to put when I truly feel it's going to happen, because I try not to just guess these. Sometimes I guess these things, but I have somewhat of an understanding of where Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers stand and how close things are and when the timeline is. But I also have the understanding that it's Aaron Rodgers and we don't know what's going to happen until it does. He is the enigma. Every conversation I've had with any source ends with, but he's Aaron Rodgers, so you never know. And I'm yeah, I get it. I agree 100%. I can't say this for certain because I just don't you just never know. But if I had to predict, if somebody said, give me your best estimate of when Aaron Rodgers will be in Pittsburgh, I would say it's just before training or minicamp. So it's the day before, 2 days before minicamp. I expect him to be there for minicamp. But again, I don't know. And if it didn't happen till July, wouldn't surprise me at all. Not even a little bit. And I wouldn't even feel wrong because I just go in with the expectation of I have no idea, and nobody really does. My best prediction is minicamp. By minicamp, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And I'm hoping that to be honest, I think that this is a good opportunity to see exactly what Mason kind of brings as a leadership role to your team, and let him build that chemistry before you make harsh decisions on Aaron Rodgers. But I also look at it and say every day that goes by, Steelers fans want less and less of Aaron Rodgers. And at this point, you're walking a dangerous line of he is not going to be accepted for the entire summer because fans are just so tired of the nonsense. But if I had to predict it just before, by minicamp.
Because, I mean, either way, it's a toss-up there. And then my last question is, should I get a DK Metcalf jersey or a Caleb Johnson jersey?
That's the one right there.
Those are the two I keep deciding between, and it's a 50-50 toss-up. Every time I get a jersey, someone leaves. So
There
I'm
it is.
scared to get another jersey.
Shout out to Maddie. I'm going Caleb Johnson. I think DK is going to change his number next year to 14. I would not be jumping on a DK Metcalf jersey right now. I would do it next year before, when you really know what number he's going to be. Caleb Johnson's going to be 20. I think he's going to stay 20. Feels like a Caleb Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers number. Mason Rudolph's not going anywhere. So he's not going to get 2 for at least 2 seasons. I'd go Caleb Johnson. That's just, I just think that's a safe bet, is to get the rookie running back who you hope turns into something when DK might change his number. If those are the two, I'd go Caleb Johnson. Plus, stud. He's a stud.
And my last question to you is, name a hot take. I did this one before, but now that OTAs are happening
around the NFL, the hot takes. This is a good one. I do agree with your Washington Commanders one. The Kansas City Chiefs, but my dad's he's a Broncos fan. He's going to love that one. He's going to love that one. My hot take around you could look at the NFL as a whole. I would say my hot take is that, that I kind of believe is that I think the Tennessee Titans are going to be worse than they were a year ago. I truly, truly believe that. I also think that the New England Patriots are going to be a bit of a threat. Not a contender, but a beat you up kind of football team, like a team that wins more games than you'd expect them to. I don't think Chicago is going to be. For the Steelers, my hot take for the Steelers that I could latch onto, that I could jump on. Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. My hot take for the Steelers right now is, you could look at it and say, and go one of two sides. Like, my hot take is that the Steelers, don't get much better with Aaron Rodgers. I think I could jump on that one. Like, I think he gives them the potential. He gives them that guy. There is the opportunity that it all works out. But I'm not sitting here saying, make your prediction for the Steelers. Oh, Aaron Rodgers leads them to a Super Bowl. No, I don't think that happens. My other hot take, I'm trying to think. I'll create my own. My hot take for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025 is that, I'll give you a good and a bad one. The good one is that their defense is significantly better. Like, I'm talking significantly better. So much better than they've been in the last couple of years. I fully expect the Pittsburgh Steelers defense to be elite in 2025. And if I'm wrong there, I'll take the L. But I am so confident if they stay healthy, this is a powerhouse of a defense. I'll latch myself to it. On the other side of that, I'm very nervous that the Steelers offense goes backwards, and I think there's a possibility. Do I think that they have the pieces in place to go forward? Definitely. Do I think they could go backwards? Definitely. I don't know where I stand right now, but if I had to come up with a hot take, it's that the Steelers offense is somehow going to get worse in 2025. And that stinks, because I don't know if I fully, if I would look at it and be surprised if they got way better. But I just look at it right now and say, DK is better than George, but I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to cause less or fewer issues, or more issues, than the quarterbacks that they've had as of recently. And when is he going to sign? And how weird and chaotic does this get? And does he have anything left? So many questions. That's my hot take for 2025. I wish I had better ones, but the Steelers are a boring football team until Aaron gets here. It's wild. All right. With that said, shout out Maddie. Shout out everybody else. we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Call-In Show. I'm Noah Strackbine. Make sure to subscribe to us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Go hit that Apple podcast download and give us a 5-star review. I can't thank you enough for that, guys. And as always, find all my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. If you want to become a member, want to join AST Nation and call in to the AST Call-In Show every Wednesday, you could do so by checking the link in the description below. Shout out to everybody in AST Nation. I'll be back later this afternoon for the flagship show. It's a rainy one, but we're heading to day 2 of Steelers OTA, so it's a good one. Enjoy a beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.